Welcome to PLZ Soccer on our YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. Neil Lennon joins me here in the studio. Neil, great to have you here with us. I suppose we'll deal first and foremost with the big issue that's just come out. Willie Colum on the SFA site has accepted that a mistake was made with VAR and Rangers should have had a penalty in the Premier Sports Cup final. What's your immediate reaction to that?
Well, fully saying that, then it's unacceptable because you have a referee, you have two or three officials in the, watching the game, slowing it down. It's a cup final. These decisions have to be right, Peter. So Willie's fronted it up and come out and said, yes, it's unacceptable, and I agree with him, so it has to be better. I don't know. And it's all right having the Monday morning quarterback routine and calling these things out in hindsight, but they should be getting it right on the day.
Has he left himself and the SFA and the referees wide open with this honesty, with this transparency? Because a lot of people are very, very angry.
Yeah, I think, look, they're going to come in for some incredible criticism now from one half of the city, and that's understandable. That's just natural because it's a big moment in a big game. And you expect the officials to get these, with all the technology that we have now, and the bodies around it, to get it right.
We didn't think it was a penalty when we were in real time.
No.
When we looked at it back with the value of a replay, I thought it was a penalty. So that calls into question the professionalism of the people in VAR who are looking there. If we can see it on a replay, why can't they?
I don't know. Unless they've made the decision too quickly. And, we were talking off air about, if Willie is the head of the referees, then for me, should he not be there? When these, for a big game especially.
So you're talking about a set of VAR officials with the assistant VAR and Willie almost like an overview for the big cup finals.
Well, either Willie or somebody of a senior standard in the refereeing association. Because Willie has come out today and basically castigated the guys who have made that decision. And if it came down to understanding of the game, then Willie would be number one in that aspect, and you would like someone of that stature to be calling those decisions.
Now, he said that he's going to act as if he were a manager of a football team and there will be accountability. Now, that suggests behind the scenes he's just going to make sure that they're taken out of those senior games.
Yeah, if you have a bad game, then you get taken out. But, that's no consolation to the Rangers fans or the Rangers players or the Rangers manager. The decision's gone now. And it could have, it would have had a huge impact in a cup final.
What do you think, obviously over the last couple of days, even the chief executive of the SFA, Ian Maxwell, has had to come out and defend his organisation because there has been, and again, the nature of the city, accusations of refereeing bias.
Look, it's always a natural instinct after a game of this magnitude and the rivalry. I think it's difficult to blame the head of the SFA for a decision that's made on the pitch in that moment of time. So, we've been told for many years, and you wouldn't like to think there's any sort of bias at all. So, for me, it's not bias, it's just incompetence.
Yeah. I don't think is there any need for any further investigation into this?
No, I don't think so. I think it's out there now. There'll be a fallout from this, for the next week or so, or down the line or whatever. But at least Willie has been honest and upfront. But it's still unacceptable, Peter. It's 2024. We're coming into 2025. We should not be making these kind of mistakes in the games, in any games at the highest level, but particularly one of that magnitude.
I'm glad you said that because, quite simply, a lot of managers and players are saying, oh yes, there's calls for an investigation, there's consternation, there's anger when it involves Celtic and Rangers. But you only have to look at the managers over the last week who've come out and said VAR is not up to the standard. In some cases, they feel it's gone back the way, getting decisions wrong.
Yeah, and you know why? Because the manager's job's on the line sometimes. He's the one who has to accept these really, you say accept, and they're really, really hard to accept, when you have a different view on the laws of the game, or you're right and they're wrong, and it's costing you and your team points. So there's a whole sort of overview that needs to be improved upon from my point of view. This shouldn't be we shouldn't be talking about VAR anymore. It should just look after itself. Now, you can talk about interpretation of the rules and how one individual sees it, but when I look at Willie, he is cast iron in that decision. And if that is the letter of the law, then all those decisions should go with the letter of the law, and then we wouldn't be having these controversies.
Yeah. What would you like to see happen with VAR moving forward?
Just the decisions, just coming to the correct decision. You know, I don't think there's any dishonesty involved. I just think that I was at the game on Sunday, and the decision was made very, very quickly. It was looked at very, very quickly, and maybe they just needed to take a little bit more time on looking at it from, you know, various angles and getting the correct decision.
Should we have a situation where the conversation between VAR and referee is released quicker so that the paying public know exactly what's happening? So you don't, I mean, I've heard some ludicrous situation and suggestion that, they should replay the match, which is just a complete nonsense. He made a mistake.
Yeah.
But to give people a greater insight into when the decision is made, should we have access to, like they do in American football, that discussion to say, here's why it was made, this is the decision, move on?
It's not a bad idea, but it gives supporters clarity. But then again, they're still not always going to agree with the decision and how they see it, or how the individual sees it. But yeah, I think, you know, we're 3-4 days down the line, and we're only getting clarity from the head of the referees today. So yeah, I think this has rumbled on for too long, and I think it would make everybody's life easier if we could have a clearer picture of why those decisions were made, and quicker.
And do we need that final word from Willie Colum to say, okay, mistake, move on, penalty that is going to be made here is on the VAR officials? Is there anything else he needs to say?
That's a good question. I just think it's put Willie in a difficult position, and to be fair, I admire him for coming out and calling it as it is. So there is that transparency there, there is that accountability there, and unfortunately for the people who made that decision, there's going to be a suspension or a punishment. But that's the rules. You've got to get these decisions right. There's so much riding on it for everyone involved, and look, it would have had a bearing on the game, Peter. It's a huge decision that's gone against Rangers. So, you know, and for me, there's no excuse now to get these decisions wrong.
Is it time for Rangers to move on?
Yeah, they'll have to. Yeah, I mean, they put in a great performance. You know, they've closed the gap. There will sort of be regrets about it, but you know, they had opportunities in the game where, you know, they could have done better in certain situations, as well as refereeing decisions. So yeah, it's done now, and you just got to use that as a motivation, I suppose.